So the first thing I want to kind of show is the icing that's going to come. These are your thick icings. There's the green for the leaves on the strawberry, some yellow, some black, and some white. And they're not really super thick, but they're not thin, and they're tied at the top. So these little bags here are going to have the ties at the top. And then you're also going to get several colors. I'm just going to kind of lay these out. And so these are the loose consistency, the red, the yellow, some pink, some sky blue, some gray, and some white. And these are thin consistency, and they have the little tie at the top, the tag at the top. So you'll need to get a pair of scissors, and you'll also want to have some baby wipes or some paper towels that you've dampened. You can also get with your kit either a scribe tool or one of these are called a boo-boo stick. A lot of the times when kids come in, this is what I give the kids, because this is pretty intense right here. So, and then with this kit, you'll also get some silver with some cake flavored liquid in here that evaporates really quickly. And you'll have this little brush, and what we'll do is we'll paint over the mason jars with some silver. So I'm going to set that aside there. So this is the first time I've decorated this set. So I've looked at a lot of different designs, and I have it in my mind what we're going to do. So I think what the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, probably do these strawberries first. So I'm going to pull my strawberries down, get those close to me. And the reason I'm going to do the strawberries first is because we're going to do some little seeds on top of the red, and so we want the red to go ahead and set up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our red, and whenever you get your icings, they probably have kind of sat for a little bit, and so the water inside the icing bags will kind of settle, and so just give it a good mush. And then you're going to take your pair of scissors, and you're going to just snip the tip of the bag, and you don't want to cut a big portion of that bag. You want to cut it really small. And so I should have brought a paper plate, but I didn't. So I'll just use this fancy plate here. Hopefully y'all can see it. So what you're going to do is you're going to squeeze, and you're going to lift up, and it's going to create a thin line. And you're just going to put a very small amount of pressure at the top of the bag. And so you want to make sure that you lift the bag up away from the surface and pull it to make that thin line. And if you didn't cut your bag enough to where it's kind of squiggling out weird and it's not doing what it's supposed to, you can just trim ever so slightly until you get it to where it makes the lines. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here on our strawberry, and you want to be sure that you're staying on top of the cookie and that you're not going off of the edge. And you just want to pull that line around and guide it as it falls. And the key here is that you hold the bag up and you give it a consistent light pressure to outline your strawberry shape. Now I recommend that you go ahead and practice doing your lines quite a few times on a paper plate or some parchment paper, and get comfortable with the way the icing is flowing. Every bag of icing is going to be just a little bit different as far as the consistency. So we're just going to go ahead and outline our strawberries. Okay. I'm going to move these mason jars. We'll do the mason jars after we do our little lemon slices. So now we're going to take our big lemon slice and then our round lemon slice. Okay. And you're going to take your bag of yellow. Okay. And again, you're going to want to mush it up. Just give it a good mixing. It's kind of like you're remixing the icing right in the bag. So go ahead and give it a good mush, and then you're going to take your scissors, and again you're just going to cut the very tip, not much, just the very tip of that bag, okay? Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to come over here, and I'm going to test this out over here on my parchment, make sure. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to outline my big lemon slice here with some yellow, and I'm going to go ahead and outline the edge, and then I'm going to go ahead and outline my round lemon slice. And you'll notice that I'm holding the bag up to create a thin line of icing, and I'm just guiding that line as it falls. Okay? So go ahead and outline both of your lemon slices. One is a ginormous Texas-sized lemon. All right. Then we're going to work on our mason jars. Okay, I'm going to set these aside. So on our mason jars, we're going to have a couple of colors going on here. And I think probably the best way to do this is to start off with some of the blue. Now the blue is not going to take much, but it'll add just a little pop of color to this set. There's a lot of yellow and red and pink. And so I wanted to add just a little bit of blue to the top of our mason jar. Okay, so give it a good mix. And then you're just going to cut the very tip of that bag. And I'm just going to test it out, make sure it's working good. Alright, so there's a little indentation here between the lid and the glass portion of the mason jar. And so I'm just going to go across here and make that divide across the top there. And then I think the easiest way to do this is just to go ahead and come on down and outline the entire mason jar with this light blue. So again, I'm just kind of wiggling around, following the shape of the cookie. And I also want to mention your scribe tool. This is what you can do with your scribe tool if you're not happy with your outline, is you can always scrape it off and go back in and fix it. So again, you want to hold the bag up and give it just a very small amount of pressure. If it's coming out really thick and wiggly, you need to just barely put any pressure on the top of the bag, because this icing is pretty loose. Okay. So we're just going to outline the entire glass portion of our mason jar. And then we're going to go ahead and take our little gray bag of icing. And again, you want to give it a little mushing. For those of you who are just now joining in on Facebook, what I'm doing is I'm just going in here and I'm recording my new sets. Alright, so again, you just want to cut the very tip of your bag. And then we're going to go ahead and you want to make connection with the blue with your gray. So go ahead and start off with that gray touching that blue. And then you're going to go in here and you're just going to outline the top of these mason jars with some gray. And then you're going to connect it to the other side there. Okay, so now we have everything outlined that we need outlined right now. So I'm going to go back to my strawberries. And we're going to go ahead and flood these first because I need them to kind of set up. So I'm going to go back to my red, and it's already been cut. So now instead of squeezing hard or instead of squeezing light and holding it up, we're going to hold it down and we're going to give it a good amount of pressure, and we're just going to push that big wide line of red, and we're holding the bag pretty close. Now you want to hold it just above the surface of the cookie. You don't want to hold it up high, you want to hold it really low, but you don't want to touch the bag to the cookie either, because you're basically just kind of pressing wide that icing as it comes out, and then you're just kind of pushing it around with your bag. And you're just going to continue touching icing to icing until you get to the middle. And you're just going to completely coat and cover the surface of the cookie. So you don't want any cookie showing. You don't want to leave any gaps or holes. You want to give that icing a chance to connect to itself and completely cover with a smooth surface. And so you're just squeezing the top of the bag, and you're just going to come in here and fill in your strawberries. Now sometimes you might get a little tiny air bubble, and so you can take your scribe tool and just come in here and pop any bubbles, make any little corrections that you need to, if you need to. And then that's what we're going to leave the strawberries at for right now, because we're going to come back here in a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and take our round lemon slice here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the same yellow bag that we had. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and we're just going to do a thin, you don't want to squeeze it as much as we were with a strawberry. We're just going to make that outline a little bit thicker. And so we're just going to hold the bag slightly above the cookie, and we're giving it a light pressure. So we're not squeezing it hard and making it round and making it wide, but we do want to do just a thin outline. And then we want to take our white. We're going to give it a good little mush, and we're going to cut the tip. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to do a thin little bit of white, and we're just going to go right up next to and touch that yellow. Go all the way around. Now, if it didn't quite connect, you can take your scribe tool and you can push that icing up next to where it needs to go. Okay. Then we're going to come in here and we're just going to go ahead and flood the rest of it. So you're going to go ahead and go around again. And then this time we're going to go ahead and flood in the whole lemon slice. And you want to work kind of quickly. Go around, go all the way to the middle. Make sure it's all connected. And then you're going to take your white and you're going to start from this white line and you're just going to you're going to hold it up, and we're pretty much just going to kind of cut it up like a pie. So we're holding that icing up and we're dragging out that line right over the top of that wet yellow. And you're just going to use your white and cut it up like a little pie. Now if you want to come in here where it connected and just give it a slight little wiggle in the surface to kind of get that white to lay inside of that white. To get it to lay down flat. Okay? So it's all one surface there. And that's all we're going to do on that one. So what we did was we did a thin outline inside of our outline with the yellow. And then we took our white and we did a white outline and we touched the yellow. And then we took the yellow again and we flooded the inside completely. And then I went back to my white and then I cut it up like a pie. So you want to make sure that when you're doing your outlines that you're holding it close to the cookie and you're doing just a little bit thicker pressure on your flooding. But when you get to the white in the middle, you're going back to your holding it up and doing the thin lines. Okay. So now I'm going to take my large lemon slice. Lost my train of thought there. Okay, and so it's going to be really similar to what we just did. So we're going to take our yellow and we're going to do a thin flood line. And so what that means is I'm holding it close to the surface, but I'm not squeezing super hard because I want it to come out not as thick as if when I was doing a normal flood like we did on the strawberry. So we just want our very outside to be outlined there. And again, I'm going to go back to my white. And I'm going to do the same thing with the white. I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to do a line. Now I'm not holding it up and dropping it. I'm actually holding it down and giving it a light amount of pressure. I'm holding the bag close to the cookie so that I have a lot of control over where that white icing is going. And I'm making sure it's actually touching the yellow. Okay. And so next what we're going to do is just like on the round one, we're going to come in here and we're going to go ahead and we're just going to flood. So I'm going to go right up next to my yellow. or right up next to the white, sorry. So I'm going to go right up next to that white. Okay, and then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do up next to my outline on the edge. Okay, and then at this point is where I can go ahead and give it a good squeeze to fill it in quickly. I'm not worried about trying to do a small line. I just want to go ahead and quickly get this flooded. And so I'm squeezing it with a good amount of pressure at the top of the bag with my whole fist because I want to get this flooded quickly. Okay. So then I'm going to go back to my white and I'm going to start about in the middle and go straight across, holding it up and dragging it. Okay. And then I'm going to do another one coming up this direction and meeting it in the middle. And the same here. All right. Now, if you wanted, you could do along that side, but I'm just going to leave it as it is. And again, if you need to come in here and kind of get the white to lay inside the white, it might kind of have a raised look to it. You can just take your scribe tool and give it a little bit of a wiggle. And that's what we're going to do on our lemon slices for right now. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to go back to our mason jars and we're going to grab our gray and we're going to go ahead and we're just going to flood in the lids. So we're just going to come in here and we're going to squeeze out that gray and giving it a good amount of pressure. And we're just kind of pushing it around where we need it to go and flood in the lids of our mason jars. All right, so just flood that in completely. Okay, so our pink is the one that we haven't cut yet, so I'm going to give it a little bit of a mush. So I haven't opened this yet. And then I'm going to just cut the tip of this bag. You don't want to cut too much, just the tip of it. Okay. So if you wanted to just do a straight line across, you could. But if you want to give it a little bit of extra little pizzazz, I guess, I don't know, you can have it just kind of waving up a little bit. Like you're shaking it up. Get a little bit of a wave there. Okay. And then from here, we're just going to come down and we're going to flood our pink down here at the bottom because this is strawberry lemonade. And we're just going to flood in. And you want to go ahead and just follow the shape. Give it a good firm squeeze at the top of your bag. And just flood in this entire section with some pink. Okay, and then once you have it flooded in, you're going to take your yellow, and I'm just kind of twisting it to get it to retighten. And so I'm going to come right on top of that pink, and I'm going to do a little lemon slice shape. Y'all see that right there? We do another one down here. So I'm just kind of drawing out a lemon slice right on top of that pink. And then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to fill that in. So I'm just going to fill it in with the yellow. And then again, this one here, I'm just going to go right over the top of that pink. And I'm just going to color in the yellow. Y'all see that okay? Alright, and then I'm going to also take my white and I'm going to draw out my little white. Right on top. So you have to work kind of quickly because it'll start to dry up a little bit. But we've already done the other slices, so you kind of have an idea in your mind of what it's supposed to look like. So then I'm going to jump over here to this other mason jar. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my pink and I'm just going to outline. The first outline goes a little bit slower because you're just trying to be careful to get right up next to the inside of your outline, or the first run of your flood here. Alright, and then once you get the outside done, you can give it a good amount of pressure, and you just want to touch icing to icing so that it connects with itself. You don't want to pile icing on top of itself. You don't want to hold the bag up. You want to hold it close to the cookie, and you just want to completely cover and coat the surface of that cookie. Okay? So then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take our yellow and give a little twist, tighten it up a little bit. And I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to draw out a lemon slice right on top of that pink. Do another one here. I'm just kind of holding it up and guiding it as it makes a thin line. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to cover that inside with yellow. And again, you want to work pretty quickly. You don't want to take a lot of time. You want to go ahead and fill that in with your yellow. And then finally take your white and hold it up. Do a thin line. And then your two little stripes meeting in the middle there. Alright, so there is the beginning of our little mason jars. So you might be wondering, what in the world are we going to do here? We're going to go back and grab our blue. Okay, and we're just going to fill this in with our blue. In here, and you're just going to go right up next to your pink. And it should all just connect. And again, take your pink or your blue. And fill all that in. Okay. If you need to use your scribe tool, you can do that as well. And then we're going to take our white. And we're just going to do a little bit of like a little reflection in the glass there. And then if you need to drag it down a little bit, there we go. So far, so good. All right, so we're just going to set these aside for right now. We're going to go back to our strawberries. Okay. So now we're going to take our little bag of green. And the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to cut the top. And we're actually going to cut it quite a bit bigger than what we've been doing. So you're going to cut it pretty big. And you're just going to come in here on this little stem on the square part, and you're just going to kind of fill that in on the little square. Okay. Ooh, I'll start knocking stuff over. All right. So once you do your little squares, you're going to take either a wet paper towel or a wipe, and you're just going to kind of lay it over, pinch and pull to kind of clear out the tip of the icing bag, and it lays nice and flat. Okay. Then you're going to take your scissors and you're just going to snip right down the middle. You're just going to snip it. I would say maybe that's like 1/8 of an inch maybe. Okay. And so let me get this plate. So when you squeeze it out, it's going to have some shape to it. And you can kind of make some leaves. So you're just going to come in here, and this little area that's on top, you're just going to kind of squeeze and wiggle, 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 wiggle. And you can wiggle it back and forth and pull it out. And you're just going to come in here and you're just going to do some leaves on the top of your strawberry. Okay. So again, you're just going to snip a little slit in the top of that bag so that you can do that. All right. So then we're going to take our yellow, and we're going to go ahead and cut it as well. And we're going to cut it like we've been cutting the others. You're just going to cut a little slight tip off, not much, just a little bit. And you're going to come in here, and this is your bag of yellow that's tied at the top. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to just squeeze and pull down right on top of that red. And you're going to add some little seeds. So you're just going to squeeze and pull down. So you kind of almost stop squeezing as you pull. And you're just going to kind of randomly come in here and do some little strawberry seeds. So I kind of stop squeezing a little bit as I pull. And you want to pull just like a little tail And practice on some paper or a paper plate or off to the side. Just going to squeeze and pull down to get that little tiny little tail. So just squeeze and pull down. And it's almost like you almost kind of use the bag almost to kind of drag that icing and kind of pull it down. Kind of push it down and drag it out a little bit. So just practice a little bit and then do this all over your strawberry. Now this red icing has had some time to set up a little bit. So these little strawberry seeds are just going to stay raised on top. Okay. And that's actually all we're going to do on our strawberries. Those are done. And we're going to go back to our lemon slices here. And we've got our black. We got a little black here. And so we're just going to cut a very small amount. You don't want it to be too much. Just a very small amount, and you want it to just come out a little thin, just a little thin line there. Okay? So we're going to kind of have our lemons kind of have a little bit of an outline look to them. So we're just going to kind of come in here and we're going to squeeze and pull down some little seeds like we were doing with the strawberries. So just going to squeeze and pull down. Now this black icing is a little bit thinner than the yellow. It's kind of an ooey gooey consistency. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to kind of come out here and you're just going to kind of outline the inside. And it really doesn't have to be perfect. We're just kind of giving it almost like a little bit of a sketchy look to it. Like it was a sketch, like a little drawing. So again, you're just going to kind of come in here and do some little thin black lines. They don't really have to be all the same. You want to actually kind of have them be a little bit different. And then come in here and just ever so slightly do a few. You just want to do either side of that right there. Just a little bit. Not too much. Okay. And then we're going to go back to our mason jars. Our mason jars here on our lemons. We're just going to do a little bit of outlines. You just want to be really gentle here because the icing is still trying to set up. So you're just going to slightly outline. Okay. And then the last thing we're going to do, I'm going to move my little lemon slice out of the way here. That's a big one. And then I'm going to take my mason jars and I'm going to grab my little cup of silver. I'm going to take the lid off and then get my little brush here. And I'm just going to dip in some of that silver. And then I'm just going to slightly go over my lid. Now you can completely cover if you want to, or you can just kind of slightly add a little bit. You can also let these completely dry and then go back and add this silver if you want. Let's get a little bit of shine there on top of our mason jar. Okay. Nice little shine to the mason jar lid. And that completes our little lemonade, strawberry lemonade set. I'll set this here. So you got your 2 mason jars, and strawberries, and then your lemonade, your lemon slices. So, all right. I'll take some pictures of these and I'm going to post the workshops. I think this workshop will be coming up, my first one. Again, I'm going to be doing more videos and posting more sets that you guys can buy the kits for and watch these videos at home at your leisure, at your convenience. And I'm going to go back and add all the ones that I've done before so that you guys can purchase these decorating kits and have fun at home without having to wait for a workshop live feed. All right, guys, thank y'all for watching.